Imagine a world where every tool you could ever need to change your life lies at your fingertips. Knowledge floods the airwaves. Opportunity pulses through every corner of the internet. A world of limitless possibility. And yet, paradoxically, the very abundance meant to liberate us often feels like a trap. A cage built not from iron bars, but from invisible chains. Hesitation, doubt, distraction. Why is it that in an age of unprecedented freedom and resources, so many remain prisoners of their own inaction? Why do we delay, procrastinate, resist the steps we know deep down we must take? Is it fear, overwhelm, or something far deeper? A paradox etched into the very architecture of our minds? This is not a story of villains lurking in the shadows, nor of external enemies waiting to stop us. It is a psychological thriller, unfolding inside the battleground of human will, where the greatest adversary often resides within ourselves. In the moments ahead, we will unravel the invisible forces imprisoning us, societal illusions, mental traps, hidden mechanisms that silence our deepest drive. The uncomfortable truth that freedom can feel like a prison and abundance can breed apathy. Because to truly change your life, to break free, sometimes you must do the paradoxical. You must force yourself to take action. Throughout history, the story of humanity is not just one of progress and revolution, but also of hesitation, paralysis, and missed moments. Entire civilizations have stood at crossroads, faced with the urgent need for change, yet chose stasis instead. Empires have crumbled not solely because of external conquest, but because they failed to act decisively when action was most necessary. Consider the Roman Empire, a powerhouse that once ruled half the known world. Yet in its twilight, it was not just barbarian invasions that led to its fall, but internal inertia. The elite clung to outdated structures, the masses disengaged, and momentum for reform stalled. History is littered with such examples where collective passivity sealed the fate of entire societies. This paralysis is no accident. Philosophers have long grappled with the human struggle to act amid uncertainty and dread. Søren Kierkegaard spoke of existential despair, the overwhelming realization of freedom that can leave one frozen, unable to choose. It is the burden of freedom itself. When every path is possible, the mind can become trapped in indecision. Friedrich Nietzsche too understood the will as a force demanding constant cultivation. Without it, individuals and societies risk decay. Political theorists have analyzed how stagnation often arises not from lack of problems, but from systemic forces that favor maintaining the status quo, an inertia woven into the fabric of power and social structure. By tracing these echoes through time, we begin to see that inaction is not simply a personal failure. It is a complex, historical, and systemic phenomenon, shaped by fear, uncertainty, and social forces that often conspire to keep us immobilized. Understanding this legacy helps us grasp the profound psychological and societal dynamics behind the paralysis we experience today. It challenges us to confront not just our individual struggles, but the collective inertia that shapes our world. Our minds are wired in astonishing ways, yet sometimes this wiring betrays us. The very organ meant to propel us forward often conspires to keep us frozen in place. To understand why, we must peer deep into the labyrinth of human psychology, where procrastination, fear, and paralysis rule as silent tyrants. At the heart of this mental stasis lies a set of powerful cognitive biases. One of the most insidious is the status quo bias, a preference for what is familiar, even when change promises improvement. It's as if our brain whispers, "Better the devil you know than the devil you don't." This bias roots us firmly to the present, binding us in comfort and fear of the unknown. Then there is analysis paralysis, the endless cycle of weighing options, questioning choices, and searching for certainty that never arrives. In a world overflowing with possibilities, this indecision becomes a trap. Our minds drown in possibilities, unable to pick a single course, leaving us suspended between action and inaction. Fear compounds these effects, but not just fear of failure. There is also a lesser-known dread, fear of success. Success demands transformation, responsibility, exposure. It forces us to shed old identities and confront unfamiliar realities. For many, this fear is as immobilizing as any external threat. Modern life only magnifies these inner battles. The digital age bombards us with relentless distractions, notifications, endless scrolling, a constant stream of information vying for our attention. Decision overload floods our mental capacity. Societal pressures and the demand to be perfect, productive, and always on crush our motivation under invisible weight. Neuroscience reveals more. Ego depletion, the gradual exhaustion of our mental energy, means that every choice and effort drains a limited reservoir of willpower. When this reservoir runs low, action becomes nearly impossible. Learned helplessness, a psychological state where repeated failure convinces us that effort is useless, further deepens our paralysis. At the same time, our brains chase dopamine, the chemical reward that signals pleasure. But this reward system can be hijacked by quick, superficial gratifications. The instant buzz of social media likes, the fleeting distraction of videos, or the comfort of procrastination itself. These small hits create a dangerous feedback loop, weakening our capacity to pursue sustained, meaningful action. This tangled web of biases, fears, and biochemical cycles is a battlefield few understand. It is a psychological thriller played out daily inside millions of minds, an invisible war between the desire to change and the inertia that holds us captive. To break free, we first must understand the machinery of our resistance. The forces, working against our will, often quietly, invisibly, but relentlessly. Only then can we begin to reclaim the power to force ourselves into action. Beyond the confines of our own minds lies a far larger, more insidious force shaping our capacity for action. Modern society, with all its complexity, is a carefully constructed stage, one where power, media, and culture collaborate to mold our attention, our desires, and ultimately, our will. At the heart of this manipulation is an intricate system of control that transforms what should be individual agency into a commodified spectacle. The same technologies and platforms that promise connection and freedom often serve as instruments of distraction and passivity. Social media algorithms, designed to capture every second of our attention, flood us with tailored content, not to inform, but to ensnare. Every swipe and click feeds a machine that profits from our inertia. Propaganda, far from being a relic of the past, thrives in modern guises. Political theater stages manufactured conflicts and endless debates, designed less to engage the public in meaningful dialogue, and more to keep them divided, confused, and disengaged. This fragmentation saps collective power, diffusing energy that might otherwise fuel real change. Consumerism is another key player in this silent puppetry. It seduces us with promises of happiness through possessions, encouraging a cycle of endless acquisition that numbs the desire for deeper transformation. The pursuit of material comfort becomes a convenient substitute for confronting uncomfortable truths or taking difficult actions. This culture of distraction breeds a profound learned helplessness on a societal scale. When attention is fractured and information is weaponized, the individual's will becomes vulnerable to manipulation. We begin to accept passivity as the norm, not just because of internal fears or doubts, but because external forces continuously reinforce the idea that our efforts are futile. The psychological chains we explored earlier are now reinforced by social and political structures designed to perpetuate them. Our internal resistance to action becomes intertwined with these external pressures, creating a perfect storm that paralyzes not only individuals, but entire populations. Understanding this modern puppetry is crucial. It reveals that the battle for action is not fought alone in the recesses of the mind, but in the vast arenas of power, media, and societal control. To break free, we must first recognize the invisible strings that bind us and learn how to sever them. Amidst the shadows of inertia and manipulation, there emerges a beacon of hope, a roadmap for reclaiming the power to act. Throughout history, great thinkers and movements have shown us that willpower is not merely a fleeting impulse, but a skill that can be cultivated, a force to be wielded with intention and discipline. Existential philosophers speak directly to this struggle. Søren Kierkegaard challenged us to confront the dizziness of freedom, the unsettling vastness of choice that can paralyze. His call was clear. To live authentically, one must leap into action, embracing uncertainty and responsibility. Authenticity demands that we force ourselves beyond comfort, into the realm where true change begins. The ancient Stoics offer another vital lesson. For them, discipline of the will was paramount. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses. Their practice of mental rigor, preparing for adversity, focusing on what is within our power, transforms willpower from a fragile spark into an unbreakable flame. Modern psychology builds on these foundations, providing practical tools grounded in science. Cognitive behavioral techniques help us restructure thought patterns that foster procrastination and self-doubt. Habit formation research reveals that repeated small actions, performed consistently, gradually override inertia. The secret lies in starting before motivation strikes, forcing the first step even when the mind resists. History is filled with vivid examples of individuals and movements that embodied this forced action. From activists who braved persecution to innovators who defied failure, their stories illuminate the truth. Willpower can be trained like a muscle, strengthened through challenge and repetition. This is the art of forcing yourself, not through brute force alone, but through mindful discipline, philosophical courage, and practical strategy. It is an act both profound and accessible, a conscious rebellion against the forces that bind us. To break free is to take that first uncomfortable step, knowing that action itself will kindle the fire of transformation. The paradox remains, a world bursting with possibility, yet so many of us trapped in silent stasis. But now, armed with understanding of the psychological battles within, the historical echoes of hesitation, and the societal forces that seek to keep us passive, we stand at a crossroads. The chains that bind are real, but so is the power to break them. Freedom is not a passive gift handed down by circumstance or culture. It is a conscious act, a rebellion against the inertia that threatens to consume us. To reclaim your agency means to disrupt the familiar patterns of avoidance. It means forcing movement when your mind resists, stepping forward despite fear, doubt, or the seductive lull of distraction. It is in that deliberate, sometimes uncomfortable act that transformation begins. This is a call, not to grand gestures, but to the small, consistent acts of will that, over time, carve a new path. To own your power in a world designed to paralyze, you must become the architect of your own action. So ask yourself, what will you do today to shatter the chains of inaction? How will you force yourself to move forward, even when every part of you wants to remain still? The choice is yours, the moment is now.